So anyways, to our, I think we're from 9 listeners, we're up to 45 now.
Okay.
So let's get to our 45 listeners, and why don't you tell them a little bit about Jay Gursey, man? Like, I mean, how did this thing get rolling for you, man?
I'm going to give you the abbreviated version,
Sure.
but basically started out of my parents' garage with $100. Was working at a coffee place. This was in the early 90s, 93. And back then, there was only about 5 coffee beans and about 12 Starbucks in Los Angeles.
What area of Los Angeles?
This is in LA. There was only 12 Starbucks in all of LA. Like that's how, when I got in, I was at the forefront of the coffee industry. So imagine now there's hundreds of Starbucks and hundreds of coffee beans and stump towns and all that fun stuff.
So you thought more.
I thought, why not build a coffee experience and bring it to film sets? And it turned out I was the first person to ever do that. So when I came along, it was styrofoam cups and U-Ban, and I had this idea of coffee on film, high-end coffee, started to study chemistry and roasting and all that fun stuff, and kind of built my bedroom, looked like Breaking Bad, all these contraptions and this, and I had coffee drips, and that's basically how I started, though.
Nobody was bringing coffee to movie sets.
No, it was styrofoam cups, if you can remember back then. Internet was dial-up, and
I remember that part.
Cell phones were like little suitcases that were about $4 a minute, and you carried around little briefcases.
Like in Michael Douglas in Wall Street.
Yes, exactly.
You needed a second compartment in your car just for that phone.
That's right.
So you come up with this in your brain. You're like, listen, I think I want to start supplying to movie sets. So, hey, like any dreamer in the world, or like anything, any idea, there's no bad ideas as far as I'm concerned in life. And obviously you've proven this with this approach that you took. How do you, and without giving away secrets, because we want you to be exclusive on this, but how do you sit in your bedroom? You have the contraptions, you're designing out coffee, you're doing all these really cool things. And then you say, I want to bring this to movie sets. And then how do you bring it to a movie set and then launch it from there? How do you break that wall down when they've been drinking shite for 50 years up to that point?
It was a hard pitch at first, but I kind of feel I've always had a sales approach, and I would approach companies and say, listen, you've got nothing to lose by trying me. If just try me once, if you don't like me, you never have to use me again. And it worked. I got in. My customer where I worked, I was working at a coffee place when I started, and they didn't do anything fancy, just basic espressos and lattes. And a casting director customer came in every day, and I told him my idea, and he was my first customer. He's the one that actually hired me first and tried me out, and he was casting a movie called Ed Wood with Johnny Depp, and that was my first contract I ever had.
So the first movie where your coffee, which was it branded at this point, or was this just your own beans that you created?
It was branded Mocha Kiss at this point. When I started, I would do ice blended. Started with cold brews and ice blended mochas, and every mocha had peeled Hershey Kisses on top. So it was Mocha Kiss.
So Mocha Kiss.
Yes.
Did Gene Simmons find out and try to come and take it from you?
No.
He didn't?
No.
So you got away with that one. There's just
away.
Mocha, but you had to put the mocha in front of it. But then Gene doesn't come along and say, I think you owe me 10 cents a bean.
He may come after me now after hearing this podcast.
Well, but the Mocha Kiss doesn't exist now.
This is true.
This is true. So, okay, so the Mocha Kiss, so you bring it to Ed Wood. What's the first thing that happens? You get on site, and then you bring it to the masses. And this is you're making coffee for the crew, or is it just strictly for the actors?
My first contract was with the production office for the office people. They loved it. This is my first day in business. I went to the casting director's office. He hired me. He had only 8 people in his office. Then he sent me as a gift to the production office. I'd made about 40 drinks there, and they were like, I'm a kid at this point. I'm 19, skinny little scrawny kid. And they go, hey, kid, can you come back tomorrow to the set? We're going to give you a map, and we'd like you to serve these on set. So that was my first day of work. I made in 2 hours what I made the entire week working at the coffee place.
Were you charging per cup, or were you just
charging per cup?
You were charging per cup.
At that point, yeah.
And so did you find that once you started with that, all of a sudden it was like, whoa, I need to add 45 people and I need to be on every movie set? Well, what was the deal there?
It was pretty bizarre, actually. I ended up getting a pager like within a couple days of starting the business. And they basically, I would be sitting in class because I'm in college at the time, and like a drug dealer, man, my pager would go off and word just spread. I didn't do anything. Somebody on Edwood knew someone on Nightmare on Elm Street Part 7, and I would get these calls, hey, are you the kid that jacks everyone up on caffeine? We need you to come. And then what happened is I met a guy who was a big catering guy, and he said, screw this, I'm not going to have you charge per cup. I'm going to give you a flat fee. And that started the whole Netflix approach of it, where it's all you can drink. And I pioneered the all you can drink for a flat fee based on the size of the crew and stuff. And now that's pretty much the standard of coffee catering.
So then from there, it's taken off. It's crazy. You're on movie sets. It's like, did you have to add people? Was it just you? Did we have to kind of like figure out what your actual plan was going to be moving forward to sustain it? Or was it just one of those things where you just kind of going with it and the work was flowing in and you just kind of kept going with it?
You know, it was a very interesting process because it started obviously out of my parents' garage, and it started with just me. My second week in business, I hired my best friend. I gave him a pager. I gave him a duplicate of everything I had, and he started to go out, and I couldn't handle all the calls, so he would start taking half my calls. And that was my second week in business. Come like a month later, it was just nonstop. Nobody was doing what we were doing. And it became like a phenomenon. And then what really got me like in with productions was productions would want to hire us on a Friday night. Now I'm going to give a major trade secret away here.
Be careful now. Are you sure? We can edit it out with like some kind of like a coffee sound.
So I would book up on a Friday night, and I didn't have I didn't have enough employees. I didn't have enough coffee bars. And then what happened was I started to make deals with the different TV shows, whatever they were, ER, Seinfeld, Gilmore Girls, and I asked for a contract. They would all give me purchase orders and pay for me to be there once a week. And so what I did is, in trade for that, I automatically gave them a spot. So I assigned somebody to their account, and I was doing 50 shows a week, like 50 film and television shows a week on average. It became so big. We would have these big silver refrigerators in our commissary, and I would have the truck from the dairy like pull up and just unload gallons and gallons of milk. Then we were roasting coffee, and
were you roasting on site?
We were roasting at our commissary. Originally, I studied roasting under a master roaster when I first launched the company, and I didn't know how to roast, and I became an apprentice, and he took me under his wing, and he kind of taught me how to taste, how to source, how to buy coffee. He was really instrumental in letting me use his credit because I'm 19 years old, right out of high school. I didn't have credit. So I would piggyback his green coffee orders, and he would let me put bags on there. So I would get net 30 days, and that was a big help. Like I credit him for really giving me my start.
It's unbelievable to me that was never visited before. Because, if I know what the demands of some rock stars can be.
Right.
I mean, I've had to replace bathrooms in arenas. I've had to replace full kitchens, with brand new kitchens, with brand new gear, you name it. So I got to think, the quote unquote movie star demands, these people have had some of the best coffee in the world coming into their movie. And to the fact that no one was bringing this service already is unbelievable to me. And this is how all the great stories start. There's always like, okay, let's give it a go. Yeah. And then you launch.
It was pretty much from the start. And that was the thing. I wasn't even in my 20s yet. I'm still in my teens when this happened, and it just took off. It was crazy.